Everyone, welcome back. Josh Beta here, flying solo for From the Stands, joined by one of my favorite people on planet Earth to talk about all things boxing, the great and powerful George Rose, who is a very busy man these days, always on a plane going somewhere around the world. So it's great to get some of your time this afternoon, mate. Really appreciate it. First of all, how are things with you since we last spoke?
Yeah, really good. Look, we've had an interesting couple of months. We've had some great fights, had some really good fights. Really enjoyed the Wollongong card. Had a bit of bad luck as well, obviously with Andre Mikhailovich missing out on his world title shot, but it's all turning around, all shaping up for what'll be an exciting couple of months over the next year.
Absolutely. And first thing I sort of want to touch on, obviously I haven't spoke to you in a number of months now, and obviously the big thing this year was Tim heading to the States, and now that we're 4 or 5 months or 4 months removed from that event back in March, the one I'm talking about is Tim Tszyu against Sebastian Fundora. I guess how do you reflect on that whole experience, and some months have passed now. How do you reflect on the fight itself and the experience having Tim over there for his first fight in the States?
Loved the experience. Loved the experience. I thought Tim was amazing. I thought he handled the whole experience really well, and I thought, uh, even on fight night, it was amazing. I thought he started that fight so well, and it was really looking really positive, really good, and absolute freak accident, and that's how it was at the time. I remember the moment that it happened, and saw him turning back towards a corner, and it was just a waterfall just gushed out of the front of his head, and I remember the moment I was like, "What the flip is going on right now?" Because
Yeah.
he had been so dominant. I thought he was so dominant in the first few rounds,
Mm.
but I still felt confident in him, and the corner was really confident, and it was just the energy in the room. Though you could feel the energy in the room, Zach, because it was such a good buzz. The fight before it was amazing. We had Rolly and Pitbull in the fight before it, and they really built the crowd up, and they were all pumped. And so when Tim and Sebastian walked in, the energy in the room was amazing. And then that moment, it's just like it just completely dropped out.
Yeah, I can imagine. Well, I was driving 10 hours back from up North Queensland, and I had it sitting there on the phone watching it as I'm driving. I was, mate, I was pretty hyped, and
Uh,
to see how well he did, especially in those first 2 rounds, really
yeah,
really
yeah,
gutted me to not see that fight. I think play out fairly how it should have without the
yeah,
cut, and I guess
yeah,
that leads into something I wanted to touch on, which I found it quite strange how. Obviously, I know Sebastian had the injury, but how an immediate rematch was never materialized, or at least an interim WBO title, because he was the WBO champion. He
yeah,
defended the title. He had that fight where he gets cut. First 2 rounds, he's piecing up Fundora, in my opinion. And after the fight, Fundora's manager came out and said, "All right, after the back and forth and the flip flopping, he said, we will give Tim the rematch." I know, like I said, I know he has the injury, but was there any other talks of that rematch ever being followed through, or any sort of communication to you guys about that?
yeah, absolutely. We talked about the rematch. We talked about it quite a bit, actually. And I think in the end, it's sort of just come down to timing.
Mm.
Tim wants to be straight back in. Thundora doesn't actually know when he'll be fully ready to be back in the ring. So I guess for Tim, he just wanted to get straight back on the horse, and that's sort of where we're at now. Is that he is getting back on the horse, and he is getting back in action, and um, I really do like the Fundora rematch. I think it will be an exciting fight when it does happen. If it does happen, however it does happen, whether it's for the belts, whether it's for whatever, it is a fight that is still absolutely on the radar, and it'll be a good one. But for Tim, he's back in the ring as soon as he's medically fit. He's lined himself up to be straight back in, and he'll be ready to go again as
Mm.
well. So as soon as Fundora's ready to go, whatever's planned, we're ready to go again.
What's up, guys? It's Josh here From the Stands. And look, I know you're in the middle of a good little interview that we're currently doing, but I want to take a second of your time just to give a quick little shout out to today's sponsor, TrainAid. Obviously, they're big supporters of us, like we are of them. And today they're sponsoring this video. And look, I want to let you guys know about a little product they do, their premium product, TrainAid Hydration. It's the best hydration formula on the market, guys. I'm not gonna lie to you. And look, if you don't believe me, ask guys like Israil Adesanya, Alexander Volkanovski, Leon Edwards. You ever heard of these guys? I mean, they're the top athletes in the world. And they're all taking Trainade hydration. It really is the #1 formula in the world for hydration. And in the summer months here in Australia, I mean, it's something that I think everyone should be taking. And Trainade have been very nice to give us a discount code, a very healthy discount code as well. I mean, it's a nice little discount code. If you use the code FTS15 at the checkout, they will give you 15% off. We'll leave a link to their website in this description of this video. And yeah, check them out, guys. Please support them because they are supporting us. Cheers.
And it almost works out timing-wise. Obviously, we'll touch on Tim's next fight in a second, but obviously, you know, he wins the IBF title eliminator. Say he wins the IBF title, then you have a rematch with Fundora, add another belt to the thing. I mean, it makes things pretty interesting for Tim. You know, to walk away potentially from that fight as a unified three division or 3 sanctioning body champion would be an even better scenario for him. And I guess, you know, there was announcement sort of last week that Erickson and Lubin appears to have gone by the wayside for negotiations of that fight, which is disappointing. You know, it's here. You know, it's the second time this has happened now. You know, for Tim in that September date. In your mind, who is the current front runner for that fight with Tim?
When's this going live?
I can save it till you post it if you like.
There's a really exciting announcement coming for Tim Tszyu very soon. Yeah, very, very soon. So
Okay.
I'll keep that one up the sleeve for now.
Yeah, keep it up.
There is, you know, and I believe everything happens for a reason. And you know what happened with Lubin happened because this next door was ready to open. And yeah, so we're really excited about that for Tim. We'll have a big announcement for him really soon. And yeah, I just think in his division at the moment, there's so many really good fights for him, and that's why I sort of allude to when I say, you know, when the Fundora fight will happen or how it will happen. There is so much talent in this division right now where if the fight comes up, if there's fights there that are non-title fights that will be absolutely amazing. You know, you've got Errol Spence who doesn't have a belt. You've got Terrence Crawford who may have a belt very soon, but doesn't currently. You've got Jermell Charlo has announced that he's back on the scene, and that's a fight that I think the whole of Australia will be excited to see happen. And then obviously Lubin's a great fight as well, and again he's a guy who doesn't hold a belt, but there's really good fights in the division with non-belt holders.
Absolutely. And I know talks of, you know, location for this fight in September. There was talks between Melbourne, Sydney, Gold Coast, Brisbane, and Newcastle. Is that something that an announcement of a location that we could expect soon? And is there anything I can do to sweeten the deal up for you guys to come up?
Hey, you don't have to do anything to twist my arm for the Gold Coast. I'm a Gold Coast fan. I love the Gold Coast fights. I've always liked the Gold Coast just as a destination, but when we took fights there, it just it completely changed my perception of what the Gold Coast is and what it can do. Like them fight weeks up there are some of my favourite fight weeks that we've absolutely ever held. And you know, the event itself, I wish that there was another few thousand seats in that arena. Because I think it deserves it. I think it is such a great spot. Even the location of where the convention centre is, it's a great spot. You've got everything there. There's a buzz on the Goldie, and if we can get up there, I'll be there in a heartbeat.
I know. The and like we just talked, like you mentioned before, Jermell Charlo, you know, announced his intention to return at 154. And the fight for over a year was talked of, you know, Charlo and Tszyu. Everyone wants to see it. I wanted to see it, no more so than Tim himself. Do you think that now he's making this return, he doesn't have any belts, he's not the undisputed champion anymore, it could entice him to take that Tim fight more so now than when he was champion and thought of Tim as a little fish and, you know, wasn't this and that? Do you think now is the time where this fight could realistically actually come together?
I think it can. I think it can at some stage, definitely within the next 18 months. You know, I've rattled off some of the names that are around in the division at the moment. So there's really good matchups to be had across the board. And I think for Tim, we'd love to get our hands on absolutely everyone. The one thing that we probably do differently to the rest of them that are in the division is that we like to fight more than, up to 3 or 4 times a year. So a lot of these guys are once a year. Terrence Crawford's fighting it once a year, or Spence is very infrequent with how he fights. And even Charlo's even less frequent. So we could probably end up fighting them all on a different timeline before as their next fight, because they're just the activity rate is a lot lower than what Tim likes to pursue, and we're pumped for that fight. I love, and you know what? As much as everybody hates Charlo and we've got a hatred towards him, when he came back on the scene, he said he's ready to be the king of the division again, and he's come out with confidence, and he's got every right to be confident. He was an undisputed champion in the division, but I like that he stepped back on the scene with that sort of authority, and he wants to make a claim in the division, and Tim's got that at the moment too. He really wants to stamp his authority on it too, because what happened in Tim's last fight, he wants to rectify it, and he wants to let everyone know that he's ready for him.
Well, it also, begs the case of, if Charlo comes back and say he doesn't come back for another 6 months, the way Tim fights, he could win that IBF title eliminator. Say he fights for the IBF title, wins the IBF. Now the roles are reversed. It's like this Dricus du Plessis and Israil Adesanya thing where Tim's chasing Jermell as the champion. There's a possible scenario where it reverses. Tim becomes champion. He holds the leverage. Jamel wants his title. That would be fun to play out as well.
Oh, it'd be very fun. I think the difference with Tim is that Tim's door is open for everyone. Tim's door is open for everyone. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether they got a belt or not. The door's open. Come on in, Jermell. Come on in, Errol. Come on in.
He's the He's the Grim Reaper.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's exciting for me, because these are cool fights that I genuinely would love to see, and I think most people would love to watch these fights. I'm curious to see how Charlo comes back. His last fight was against Canelo. 2 weight divisions up. So, there's question marks about how he comes back, how he is when he comes back. And even for Spencer's coming up. Crawford's coming up in weight. So right now, this is the destination weight division to be in. So, and Tim's got a very strong case against absolutely all of them.
Absolutely. And like you mentioned, Crawford is back this weekend fighting for the WBA super welterweight title against Israil Madrimov. I guess, how do you see that fight playing out in your mind?
I think firstly, I think Crawford wins. I think Crawford's a pound for pound king, and deserves that respect. I think when he gets in there, I think that he should win this one convincingly. Not only because of his talent, but because I think that's the expectation of him too, with where he's at in his career. You're coming up, you're fighting against Madrimov. It's a fight that he should win. What I will say about Madrimov is he's a very strong guy. You watch him in his last fight, winning the title. He's strong. He's very strong for the weight. So any question marks around Crawford being able to handle this weight and how he will go at this weight, I think this is the one that will answer it for him. If he shows that he can take the strength of Madrimov, he's a real problem in this division. And I think the only person who beats him in the division then is Tim Tszyu.
And talking, circling back to Australian boxing, which you guys have a steadfast holdover. I just guess Nikita Tszyu and Koen Mazzoudi is a great fight for Australian boxing fans coming up at the end of this month. Obviously a good test for Nikita, and also a good test for Koen as well, to get a fight against Nikita. And should Nikita win, he'll move to 10-0. How many more fights do you think Nikita has here in Australia before he makes that jump and goes on with Tim to the States?
I think this puts him very close to it. Koen was rated in the top 10 in the world this time last year. So Koen is a really good opponent for him, a really good step up in competition. And I think a win against Koen sort of signifies that he's ready to make that next step. And there are opportunities already that have presented themselves overseas. There's some cool matchups that we want to make Even at the moment, even if he still has a few more domestic fights here in him, there are some good fringe level US guys that I think we could get out here to make a really entertaining fight. But yeah, Nikita's very close to that level. He's got an advantage in that he's following in the footsteps of a guy who fought his way to a world championship. In his brother, he's following the same training regime, the same lessons learned. That's probably a bigger benefit that he has, is that the things that Tim's learnt along his journey, he's able to have that up his sleeve already. So it helps him to fast track to where he's going, and he has fast tracked his pro career. You know, his first fight, he was headlining a televised card. Not many people do that in their first fight, and the pressure has been on him from the start. And the pressure's on him again here against Colin Mazzutia. Like this is a tough fight, and if you know stylistically the matchup for Nikita, Colin's a guy who's a real stayer. He sticks around for the full rounds, and he's tough. He's tough. He can take anything. He keeps coming forward. He pushes the fight. So he's really gonna test Nikita, and it will be a good indicator of where Nikita's at and whether he's ready for that next big step.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess the next guy who's going to be making that international jump, we hope to see, is Sam Goodman, in a fight where I think he's most deserved of a fight with Inoue, you know, especially with Inoue calling him up in the ring and that sort of stuff, which I know wasn't planned. And I know you guys have massive amounts of respect for Inoue. I mean, how could you not? He's one of the best in the world, if not the pound for pound best in the world. After Inoue's next fight, obviously a guy that Sam defeated prior, is that something you think realistically we could see as Sam's next fight? Like, in your mind, is that what you guys are pushing for?
Yeah, well, look, the way that Sam's team saw it was that the Warrior fight was the last fight that they needed to be confident and prepared to beat Inoue. And that's the talk that I love to hear. You know, the fact that that's how they're approaching it. They feel that last fight was what they needed to give them the confidence to go in and beat Inoue and become the undisputed champion. So, you know, the other benefit that Sam now has is that with Inoue fighting TJ, Sam's fought TJ. Sam knows TJ inside and out, knows his strengths and weaknesses, and he'll be able to get a really good read on Inoue based on that matchup. I think it'll be a huge benefit to Sam, the fact that he's taken that fight. So, but you know, in a sense, you know, I'm happy that it's taken place. But Sam's next in line, absolutely, and it'll be the last time that Inoue gets to enjoy them belts because Sam's come to take them.
Love it. And I'll leave you with this. I always think, and it's proving more so, that I see Sam having almost an identical mindset to Tim Tszyu. Obviously, you know, Tim never waited, and he always took fights, even en route to becoming champion. Never, you know, you never took an easy fight. There was, you know, could argue that the Goodman could have waited and just said, "No, I'm not fighting till I fight anyway," and said, "No, I'm going to fight." Kept fighting. Do you see that as well? That same mentality as Tim with Sam? I mean, it's pretty incredible that you have two guys under your stable that are pretty in a mindset that you don't really see these days very often.
No, and they're calculated risks, and again, like every risk that they take, I only gain more and more respect for them and their team, because I know that what they're putting on the line with every fight that they step in and do that, it's everything. They are literally putting everything on the line, and you watch them grow with each performance as well. I think we've seen Sam grow over his last few fights as well, like massively. He's been such a good fighter in that division, but I think what he's done in his last few fights has been huge as well. We've seen his growth as a fighter, and you know, I believe it more and more every day. I've always believed that he can beat Inoue, and the more that he's showed what he can do, it just makes me even more and more confident. So all he needs is that opportunity. All he needs is to be in that ring, facing off against him, and he'll put absolutely everything into it. And it's cool because he's a kid from Wollongong. You know, he's chased the dream. He's had so much respect here in Australian boxing for such a long time. to see him achieve that dream would be huge, for the country.
Yeah, absolutely. George, you're one of my favorite people to talk to, like I said at the start of the chat, mate. Thank you very much for your time. I know you're busy, so I always appreciate it. Keep doing what you guys are doing. I mean, you're leading the charge here in Australia and internationally, I think, as well. You guys are doing very good. So always appreciate your time, mate. Looking forward to this August 28th card with Nikita and Cohen, and then obviously September 22, Tim Tszyu makes his return, in which I hope to be here. If it doesn't, I'm still happy because we get to see Tim return. So all the best, mate. Thank you again.
Yeah, hopefully can see you up there soon. Thank
Awesome.
you.
Thanks, George. Thanks, mate.